This is Deborah Johnson for Women at Halftime, and I'm passionate about helping women use their untapped skills, resources, and talents to create their ideal work and lifestyle, making a difference in their second half. Well, hello. It's great to be here with you today. Deborah Johnson here. And if you are watching this on YouTube, you will see that you get to see me now live in front of the camera instead of just a still. But I really wanted to have some personal connection in some of my podcast shows. And so that's why I am doing this. And with a great subject that we've got of how mind games will hold you back from your potential. And I really love this subject with mind games and head trash, because of course I've had to face much of my own head trash and mind games in many little segments of my career and my life. And I think it's an important subject to address today. To remind you, the Learn Music Again program the card is still open for just a short time. We are just, as this airs, we are just finishing an 8-week ramp up time. And so I'm making that available, again, that membership. And then I often have other little programs, free downloads, free offers on my Facebook page. Look at that. I have some other challenges going on as well, Deborah.Johnson. So make sure you check that out. You get on my newsletter. That's a great place to keep up with all of the things. There's always something going on. So let's talk about this subject, how mind games can hold you back from your potential. And I have some really great little statistics for you today. Mind games come in all shapes and sizes. There are so many ways that we can just tear ourselves down and lifting up these imaginary successes of others as we compare ourselves. And as the most powerful computer in the world, your mind is capable of sending you constant messages, either to encourage you or discourage you. I did a lot of research for my book, Bad Code, and on how powerful the mind is. It really is very, very powerful. I have some statistics for you today I think you'll enjoy. And the power of a repetitive process that a human brain can produce can't be emphasized enough. That repetitive over and over and over again. And we compare this a little bit to a virtual virus and how it duplicates itself over and over again constantly. And this happened actually with my music website when it was hacked. That I got a virus, and it hundreds of pages. I had blog pages, I had articles, hundreds of pages that had this jibber jabber code, lines and lines and lines and pages of code that it would just duplicate on. And that's exactly what happens with a virus, of course, even a human virus, that it will just duplicate. And of course, we've just been through, and even as this airs, definitely this COVID coronavirus it's a very big illustration of what a mental virus and a virtual virus can really, really do. And so as we've experienced that, there's so much devastation that's happened to our economy, our health, as well as our mental health well-being. The isolation, that's not good for anyone. It's not good for kids. It's not good for us. It's very, the depression sets in. And it not only held so many back, but it stymied our whole economic climate, really worldwide, until a vaccine came into play and health guidelines and precautions really could be met. And many of us just didn't know what to believe anymore as all of those, it kept changing back and forth. So I'm going to give you some solid things today that you can bank on with your brain. So I hope that encourages you. And about the brain's ability to duplicate magnifies any sort of virtual or even a physical virus. It's very, very powerful. And these are some interesting statistics for you. A typical healthy human brain, it contains about 200 billion nerve cells or neurons linked together by synapses. And those are, in a human brain, there are more than 125 trillion synapses just in the cerebral cortex alone. And those are the little connections, the little synapses. And Stephen Smith of Stanford School of Medicine says that's roughly equal to the number of stars in 1,500 Milky Way galaxies. That's a lot of little connections that we have in our brains. And we don't even use many of those connections. Many of us are just, we're not utilizing our potential. And that's exactly what the mind games will hold us back from our potential. And Smith goes on to say that a single human brain has more switches than all the computers and the routers and internet connections on the earth. And you can find, some of these sources in the articles that I write along with these episodes. You can see where that is actually sourced and some of his research. And so I'm just saying that rather by being replaced by AI, artificial intelligence, we should focus on increasing the brain's inherent ability to do things that digital computers just can't do, like creating projects and like expanding your ideas. Just talk to me about a new project and I'm excited about it. I love new projects. But there's only so much a computer can really do as far as reasoning and creating. It can duplicate, but it can't really create, even though they are getting better. AI is getting better. There's a lot of things they can do, but still a lot of things they can't. And that's where I really want to focus today, because that's a mind game that holds us back, head trash that will hold us back. And we have to take advantage of the opportunity in front of us, but we have to get beyond that head trash and the mind games that really do limit us. And I use a roundabout as an illustration for this, because with unhealthy self-talk and mind games, that all of those can keep you circling round and round and round in the middle of a roundabout, not being able to get out. And you become a roundabout hero when you successfully exit with healthy self-talk and purpose. Healthy self-talk and purpose. I just had to say that one again because that's really, really important. And here I'm going to talk about 3 areas. I'm going to talk about identifying the language. I'm going to talk about changing the language and then taking action. Now, first, identifying the language. What do you see or you even think about when you look in a mirror? What are some of the phrases, such as, I'm not good enough, I'm a failure, I'm too old, I just don't have the right look, oh, I don't have the right contacts, or I'm just horrible with tech. Well, any of those can really, really hold you back. Those are not only thoughts, but many times we act on those. And as you identify that language, I encourage you to journal. Okay, some of you listening may think, journaling, you're always talking about journaling. But this is very, very important. Write down what you feel, what you really feel. You can always throw those pages away. You can. But take the time, just a few sentences, write those down. And take time to identify what you're feeling and some of those phrases. Be honest with yourself. Many times we just aren't honest with ourselves. And this has been a very, very important process for me as I've been writing a new book, which is an allegory. And I'll tell you why. Most know that an allegory is a story. Usually there's a character involved with a hidden or a not so hidden meaning. And it's actually, in writing this book that'll come out later this year, it's been very similar to writing a musical script for me because of the character development. I've had to delve into the feelings of the main character. And in doing this, I've identified really some of my own head trash and my own feelings, which are very relatable to the character. And I not only journal a couple times each day, but it's kept my thoughts focused and identifies where I'm at. And it's helped me identify some of those feelings that I can now transfer to this character, even, and how I would feel after a certain incident. And it really serves as a very good look in the mirror and a reality there. Now, a note about this is not only to identify your self-talk, but really how you're comparing yourself to others. That's another area of head trash that I see. And trash, that head trash, it will hold you back from your full potential, and it stops you. It's like a load of manure, a note of something that just puts on top of something beautiful, and that's head trash. That's what can happen with that sort of negative language if it's not dealt with. So, if you have an imaginary yardstick of popularity or of success, of looks, of talent, or ability, that yardstick may or may not hold up at all. It might be like a little thin piece of plastic or rubber trying to hold up like a tree trunk. You, that would just bend completely. And it won't hold up. You have to have, some steel, something very, very, very strong, or a strong piece of a post to be able to do that. So do the right comparison. Compare yourself with your own potential, not with some sort of plastic or rubber, something that'll hold up on even on social media, as I say. And part of that is to change your language. So this first step, of course, was to identify your language. And now let's get to how you change that language. I really want to give you some action points here. And it's not easy by any means, but it's absolutely necessary. If you start out every single day with a not good enough message, you're going to stay stuck. You just are. And the first step is to take that out of your vocabulary completely. You can't say that anymore. I'm just telling you, just wipe it out, cross it out. And you might not be able to actually say different words yet, but taking out the negativity is the first step. So that's number one. As you write those out, actually, it's a good exercise. If you've written those down, just go through and just cross those puppies out. And the next will be to look in the mirror with a different attitude. Now, so most of us women know this, that some of the clothing stores, they specifically have mirrors that make us look thinner. I've actually done some research on this, and you may have your doubts. So look it up for yourself. Now, they don't advertise this. Of course not. They don't advertise this. But it's pretty universal and it's common. There are dressing mirrors for you. And, when we look at something and we think, oh, that looked so good on me in the store. And now it's just not doing something. It's not doing everything. Now, I just want to put a little warning there that this could be happening in some places. And of course, I'm not a big shopper. I don't. That's actually, I'll be some of you listening to this and going, "You don't like to shop, really? Really?" I really don't. So, but I would advise you, in knowing that fact, to at least look at yourself with new eyes and not be quite so critical. Just pretend like you've got that little mirror, just looking right back at you, and how beautiful and wonderful you are. And as you look negatively in the mirror, I can find things wrong with myself as well. Of course, I think, okay, so my core isn't thin or firm enough. I'm always saying that and kind of working on that area. But positively, when I look that way, I see an expression and a relatedness that I can make with people with my eyes and with my facial expressions. And using that more is exactly what I want to be doing right now. I'm not going to ever be a bathing suit model. That's just not, that's not me. I want to wear the right clothes, and I want to look nice and keep fit and that whole thing. But I don't want to be so critical of myself every time I get in front of that mirror. I can always work on my core, but it really shouldn't hold me back with the language that keeps me from my potential. One of the most productive times in our lives is halftime. And it's officially, halftime is officially over the age of 40. And I focus more on the ages of 45 to 60 and even beyond, because your skills, your abilities, and your experience are so very valuable. You're not too old, you're not too irrelevant, and you're not too disadvantaged technically. You can learn enough to be able to hire it out. And the only thing that will really hold you back is your mindset. And it's letting those mind games with negative self-talk continue and repeat, just like that virus. That's the only thing that will really hold you back. So take time with your journal and go back at the step where you had written all those things out. If you have not crossed some of that language out, at least identify some of that language now and really work on writing a new script. Just like I have been writing this allegory, writing the book, writing that script of how the character develops. You are your own character. You're writing your script for your life. And after you do that, kind of review that script. That's the beauty about journaling. If you haven't thrown away those pages yet, you can read back. Actually, I've kept a lot of my journal pages through the years. I have way too many of them. And I have thrown some pages away that I don't want my kids to see or anyone else. So I just needed to get some things out. It's a normal process of our life, and it's healthy for us. Some people post notes on like their mirrors or other places in their closet, or even behind like little cupboards, just to remind them of some healthy self-talk, of moving forward. If that helps you, please do it. Just do whatever will work for you. But that will help you. And even writing little notes that you can spend on your daily time. I encourage you to have a daily time of meditation or of devotion. And it's a part of taking that action with our mindsets. First thing of the day, I have decided, and I've told many I've done this, is I've turned my phone over. And I'll check my email just real quick first of the day, but I will not check like social media or any of the news going on, just because it's way too distracting. And I can't be distracted by maybe bad news that's out. It doesn't do me any good. It takes away my focus. And then what happens with some of those mind games and head trash, it gets in the way. I can't concentrate, and I can't really do what I want to do for the day ahead. I want to focus on this day, not on yesterday, not on bad news that has happened. And of course, we all need to check up on family, friends, and all of those things. But it's very important to keep our mind centered. And the start of every day, whenever your day starts, mine starts very early, but whenever your day starts, start out focused. And I've worked with a lot of musicians through the years. And of course, many of them are night owls. So they're up a little bit later. That's okay. That's okay. And that's the start of their day or your day, whatever schedule that you particular may have. But start it with that mindset that you can at least be clearing your mind. Spend that time with that journaling, putting down those thoughts and just writing them out. If you go through the Artist Way, you go through any of those others, there's a lot of different programs, a lot of different journals out there. I mean, and more through the years we just had, I have seen more and more products coming out on journaling and on the importance of it. And again, it doesn't need to be long, a couple sentences. I started a 90-day challenge and habit that I've kept up. I've never quit. It's just a couple lines a day. It really is helpful. And it's helpful for me to remember some of those things that I want to even remember. And I put it down in my journal. So that number one was identifying that language. Number two is changing some of the language. I would even encourage you to take some of those words that you identified and now change them around, such as I'm not good enough to I'm good enough, or I can't do that, or I can do that. Write that out in your journal. That's changing the language intentionally. Post those notes up. There are many little inspirational sayings, but make your own. Take time to make your own sayings that will really mean something to you. That's really important. This is for you. And so anyway, after you do that, changing your language, now we need to take action. What happens when you don't take action is you're in the middle of that roundabout, circling and circling and circling and circling and not getting out. You're stuck. All right. It's endless circling unless you can get beyond some of those mindsets, the head trash holding you back, the piles of manure that just stop you in your tracks. All right. You don't want stuff to just hold you back. And that's what these mind games can do. And especially if you have a message that's just like a virus, just repeating over and over and over and over again. And I tell you what, that never really ends. It comes at you. That's why your daily time of reflection and of journaling is so important. It doesn't just stop. It doesn't go away. You always have to check it. It's like checking your credit card every month and making sure that you don't have, unwarranted charges. You just have to check it and do that little mind checkup. So taking action after identifying that language and changing your language to get beyond the mind games, it does take some action. And what am I talking about this? I've known many who have been talking, even this last year, I've talked to some people recently who have talked about finishing a musical album, which now, of course, we just download, but finishing their album, finishing a book, starting a new career. Oh, I've been dreaming of doing this for so long. They've not done anything. Investing in additional learning, lifelong learning. The list goes on and on and on. And as I've checked back with them months later, a year later, in one instance, there's no progress. Well, what happened? What happened? Now, sure, there are distractions that happen. Life happens. It just does. But many times it's more than that. I like a little saying I've used in a couple of my books already, actually. I've written, if I talk about personal development, I talk about 3 books I've written, and in the music field and others, I've written another 2, so that's 5, and I am coming out with another. But I've used this a lot. When a door closes, look for a window. So when a door closes, look for that window. When the window shuts, look for a crack in the wall. You just have to look for a little area. Now, this might be in your time management. It might be, something a habit that you need to put into your life when you don't feel like you can do it one way. Well, maybe there'll be another way. There's usually a way around obstacles, but it takes that focused mindset and a healthy self-talk to move forward. And sometimes we don't see the big picture of all of this really until after it all happens. We look back and you go, that was the best thing that could have happened. But when you're in the middle of it, you just feel stuck, like you're circling, unless you take action. Now, most people know about the diet principles, that it's all about nutrition and creating new habits. And in fact, I have free downloads on my website, on my Goals for Your Life website, on downloads on even nutritional timing and all of that, and habits. But that came out of having one of our sons who was a personal trainer, and he has such a strict habit of eating. It's a lifestyle eating, and I tell you, he looks amazing. He's an attorney and put on 30 pounds of muscle. It's still there. But it was just changing the way he ate. So it was a lifestyle and committed to, you're never going to look like quite like him, I don't think, but I don't think very few people do, but committing to a lifestyle of healthy eating will do more for you than all of those fad diets or programs. Most of us just know this, but it's a decision to act on, and getting beyond the "I'll always be this way" language. For me, it's always like, I'll never have a really tight core area. Well, that's not totally true. I can get it better. I've been working actually on my core a little bit. And in fact, I did a little yoga program this morning. I am so unflexible. I've never been able to really touch my toes, and I'm flexible. It's a push for me. It's a push. So, but I am determined. I really want, as I gracefully grow older, I really want to keep that core area firm and firmer even. So, and those with health and physical issues, boy, mindset is even more important. Looking at that mirror and seeing what can be is extremely important. There are so many inspiring stories of those who have like overcome huge physical challenges. And I've known those who were told they could never, ever walk again. That's distressing news if you get that. But then they did. And deciding to incorporate a new habit, it discounted that assessment for James Clear. And you can read all about it in his book, Atomic Habits. He decided that he did not want to be held down and not able to even walk again. And he took action, and he incorporated a healthy routine and habits to get back walking again. And it definitely took an act of the will. I am sure it hurt. I am sure it hurt how difficult that was. So, but all of those are very important in our mindsets here, is to identify your language and then change your language. And finally, to take action. It is not just to write down a change, but say, well, let's move on from here. Let's not stay saying the same thing, like, I'll never do this, or no, I can do this. Now, what am I going to do? Those are the goals. That's the important thing. Little tiny steps, little tiny steps. And to end this, I'd like to just kind of touch on resources a little bit, because there are so many resources available to get beyond the not good enough and even the I can't do tech feeling. There are just so many available for you. There's online programs, there's mentoring, there's coaching, and even support groups, mastermind groups. They are so plentiful. But the first step is identifying the language and the mind games that are really holding you back. You take a really good hard look in that mirror. And if you need to get one of those fashion mirrors, that's good with me. Hey, but you really want to see some of your strengths and what's standing out. When I have worked with coaches, especially in the music field and getting ready for large shows, they've asked me, what do you feel like some of your strengths are? And then they've come out even more when I actually start rehearsing a show, because I realize, I just had to take the risk in trying some new things. And I felt like, I have an area I never even knew about. So don't discount everything too quickly. That's very, very important. But be honest, write down those feelings and see if you can do some changes on that language. And then you kind of go back to that journal and really be reviewing what you're saying to yourself. You are good enough. You can learn enough tech, tire it out. There are so many people that can do tech. You just need to be able to manage it and know enough to not be taken advantage of, just like a mechanic, an auto mechanic. You do have valuable skills. You have valuable resources and experiences. And I find so many, especially at the halftime of life, are not using those skills, those talents, all of that they've got. They're stymied. They're stuck. And many times it's because of the mind games and the head trash. It doesn't matter how old you are. You are not too old. You're not too irrelevant time hasn't totally passed you by. I've heard that one a lot, by the way. Time has just passed me by, or, oh, I just don't feel like I'm a part of anything now of this world anymore. And I mean, that's kind of a normal feeling of people that get to a certain stage. I mean, I know my parents felt like that way, but they were in their late 80s. They were 90. I mean, can you imagine someone now that's that came? Well, I don't know if all of those people have kind of died off already. That came from horse and carriages and down into the automobiles. I mean, we're way past. I mean, they could definitely feel like time has passed them by. That they're not a part of this world anymore. But there's so much now that you can be a part of, and so much education, so much available. And don't let that become your mantra. If that's your self-talk, the mind games will keep you circling and circling and circling in the middle of that roundabout. Don't let that happen to you. You are the only one that can take action for yourself. It's your decision. I can't do that for you. Nobody else can do that for you. You can go to plenty of psychiatrists, plenty of coaches and everything, but you still have to take action. That has to be you. And you'll never reach your potential or your new potential if you don't. And I'm really, really rooting for you on this. I just really want you to get beyond anything that's really, really holding you back. Remember, if a door closes, there's a window open. And if a window is shut, there's a crack in the wall somewhere. You got to find it, right? Just think like, okay, I'm a little mouse, or I'm little, go around and find that. So I hope this has really helped you. And it's been really a fun episode for me. I've written a lot about mindset. I wrote the book, Bad Code, and I've just delved into it, even with a free head trash course and all of that, because I find this is a big area that really holds people back. And I want you to move forward. I just do. This is, at this point in my life, this is what I'm all about, to help you move forward in your life in many different areas. It can be in music, or it can be in professional development, all of those areas, just to really be able to move ahead. So I hope you join me next week. Okay, so next week's a really fun one. Greg's on with me, my husband, on with me once a month. And he's on. Someday we will do a video together, though, too. That would be kind of fun for you guys to see. But we are talking about major milestones in life and relationships. Now, I put this in here because we will have just celebrated another anniversary. We met on a blind date and married 4.5 months later. Yes, I know, strange that that happened. It happened, and it worked for us. And so here we are. And so we're going to talk about some of those things in our relationship, of milestones in life and relationship, because both of those, and we have some more to go, because we are, growing a little bit older, and we've now said goodbye to both sets of parents and all of that. Those are some big milestones. So we're going to talk about some of those next week. Make sure you listen, subscribe. You can find us anytime at womenathalftime.com. Just such a great format for me. I just love the podcast format. It's a lot of fun. And I hope you listen, that you subscribe, and that you tell your friends. I love reviews. It just means a lot to me if you do write me a review as well. And just thank you so much for listening. How mind games will hold you back from your potential. I am rooting for you just to zoom straight ahead. So bye for now, and I will look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you for joining us on Women at Halftime. Visit goalsforyourlife.com or womenathalftime.com for many more resources, downloads, and programs, or to get in touch with me. I'd love it if you leave me a review and tell your friends. So until next time, this is Deborah Johnson, signing off.